What is up, you guys? It's Bebe. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to do my EDC recap and review. I do these after every festival I attend. I've recovered from Vegas. It's now like the week following. We've caught back up on sleep and we've gotten our life back in order. So I'm finally sitting down today to do this, and I've just collected all my thoughts over the past week, and we're just going to talk all things EDC today and this year's festival. So if you're new here, definitely subscribe. I make all kinds of festival content. In case you missed the EDC vlogs, I have one up for each day. They're all live, so they're on my channel. Go check those out. You can always get the best feel for an event through vlogs, so if you're curious about what EDC was really like this year, then go watch those. Don't think I have really anything else to announce. If you guys are interested in attending EDC Orlando this year, I am selling tickets as an INSOMNIAC affiliate, so I will have a link to those in the description, as well as a few other INSOMNIAC events. I'm running links for EDCO, Moonrise, Project Glow Philly, and Escape Halloween. So if you're interested in attending any of those, links are down below. Just for a little bit of background on this year's EDC, I was camping. I was in Moonglow camping, so I had a shift pod with me and 3 other friends. I'm gonna be doing a completely separate review and recap on camp EDC specifically, just because it is like its own thing in my opinion. So I'll have a separate video on that if you're curious about how camp specifically was. I'm not going to be talking about that today, so just keep an eye out for that video. But yeah, I was in Moonglow camping. I did have VIP this year. Last year I had GA, so a little upgrade for this year, which was nice. I'll talk about that in this review as well. But overall, basically same setup as last year. Camping, got there Thursday, left Monday. And yeah, so now let's get into the review. First category I always talk about is weather. The weather this year was obviously a little bit different than EDC in October. Much hotter during the day. It was so hot, you guys. It was honestly kind of brutal. I think the worst days were Thursday, which is like the camp early arrival and pre-party day, and then Sunday I remember was particularly bad. Like Thursday it was like 105 degrees, I want to say, and then Sunday it was like 95 to 100. Why is the sun disappearing? Every time I film a video, pretty fucking brutal in camp. I mean, obviously there were air conditioning units in the tents. I'll talk about all of that in my camp recap, but yeah, it was pretty painful during the day. It was just so hot, like you didn't even want to do anything. But obviously once you get into the festival, like EDC is mostly at night, like when the sun goes down, so it gets way easier and cooler. The first night it was so windy that it was very chilly, and then the third night it was pretty windy as well. But only the first night was like cold, you know what I mean? And as long as you were prepared, it was fine. Like I had a pashmina, and then I had like, my outfit had long sleeves. They were like lace, but it was something, and that really helped. I just wish we would have known that it was gonna be chilly, but we literally didn't check the weather all weekend because we didn't have cell service. So yeah, night one was a little rough temperature wise. And then Saturday I was like, well, I'm gonna bring a hoodie because it's gonna be cold during nighttime again. It was hot. I literally I brought a hoodie into the festival. I walked it back to camp like halfway through Saturday because I was like, it's too hot to even carry this around. Girl, I don't know. And then Sunday it was like really, really hot until, I don't know, I would say like 2:33ish in the morning, and then it got really windy again. So then like walking out of the speedway, it was a little chilly. Vegas weather is just confusing. You're in the desert, what do you expect? But as long as you're prepared, it's doable. We just did not have cell service, so we couldn't check the weather all weekend, so we had no idea it was going to be cold. Next up is transportation. I'm not going to cover this here because I camped. Again, we'll have a separate video on camp, so keep an eye out for that. Vibes. I heard a lot of people and saw a lot of people talking about this online, saying that the vibes were not great at this year's EDC. Personally, I did not have any issues. I mean, there were a few instances of people like shoving through the crowd and not having spatial awareness and not saying excuse me, which is like my biggest pet peeve. My biggest pet peeve is people at festivals who are so unbelievably fucked up that they have no spatial awareness. I have to say the vibes were not as good as October, that's for sure, but I feel like that's because October was like people who were like dedicated to going to EDC, like EDC veterans, like dedicated first timers who have been waiting since forever to go, like I was. Whereas now we're kind of back to like pre-pandemic crowds, like anyone will just go just cause, and maybe they're not like super into the music, so they don't really know the scene that well, and like the etiquette that comes with it in the crowd. I don't know. Definitely not as great as October, but still I don't think it was as bad as what people were talking it up to be online. And I know like Emma Capote says this in her Rave Culture Cast recap of EDC, the negative will always be louder than the positive online. I've always noticed that, and honestly not having cell service all weekend kind of became a pro, because then on Monday when I like finally got it back and I opened Twitter and started scrolling, I was like, why are people I was like, what EDC did you guys go to? I had a great time. I thought there was a ton of good energy, ton of plur. I met so many of you guys, which made my entire weekend. Y'all are the fucking sweetest. I can't speak to everyone's festival experience, so I'm not gonna deny that people had bad run-ins, but for me, it was just a matter of like, I had a few instances where people just shoved through the crowd, which also only happened for the most part at Kinetic Field, which is very common at festivals. It's always the main stage that's the culprit. So yeah, like when we were waiting for Millennium to come on, that crowd was fucking horrendous. Like people trying to get like in and out of Kinetic. It was horrible. It was horrible. Like those are only really the bad situations I was in. I met so many great people and had such a good time that I really can't complain on the vibes, but some people clearly did not have a good year. And that's okay. You're not always gonna have a perfect festival experience. All right, vendors, lines and prices. The only really bad story I've heard is the lines for merch on the first night were like atrocious because it was cold, so everyone was trying to buy things to keep them warm, like sweatshirts and stuff. I know Aid, my friend Aid, waited 3 hours for merch. I found her afterwards and she told me that, and I was like, I am so sorry for your loss. Truly, I cannot fathom waiting 3 hours. I can't. Then again, I waited 7 hours for my wristband, so you know, you can't win them all. Bars, the lines were kind of long depending on the time of night. Drinks were the same price as they always are at Insomniac festivals. I always go with beatbox. I say this in every fucking video. It's way more bang for your buck. You pay like between $15 and $18 for one, and it's 11.1%. You have one, you're feeling woo. You have two, and that's all you need. So the bar lines could be long, dependent on the time of night though. Like obviously as it gets later, it gets more crowded. I had VIP, so I used those bars because the lines were obviously way shorter. The lines for water were never really bad either. We always used the refill station that's like right by circuit grounds, like in between circuit and base pod, and we never waited long, so that's that. And they have little vendors inside the festival of like small businesses and stuff. I didn't get to see that inside the festival. I only saw the vendor village at camp, which I'm assuming it was like a lot of the same shops, and the one at camp was awesome, so I'm assuming the one inside the festival was great too. But yeah, pretty standard. I never waited in a long line really for anything. I think the longest I waited was like in a bar line on Sunday for like probably 15 minutes ish, which, you know, it could be worse. Moving on to security, I go through camp security, so this is different than regular entry. So it's a completely different area. To be honest with you, they don't check shit, and I think they justify it because when you check into camp, they go through all your stuff, so they're like, well, we don't really need to go through it again. But check-in at camp security is non-existent, we all know this. And yeah, getting into the festival, they didn't really check anything, which honestly I don't like. It worries me, like from a weapons standpoint. You don't know what people could be bringing in, like especially in this day and age. It just worries me, so I never like it when, as much as I want to sneak in, you know, my little flask of alcohol in the bottom of my lunchbox, it really does not make me feel good that security just like will look and not even like move things around. Not a fan of that. As much as I do like to sneak in my alcohol, but you know what, it's okay. And the lines were never long for security, but again, we go through a different entrance. I can't speak to the regular entrance, but it never took us more than like 10 minutes to get into the festival from camp. Production and layout, some things were a little different this year, but as always, EDC is just like unmatched production wise, so I will never really complain about it because how can you? I mean, fucking look at it. Hello. Downtown EDC was moved closer to Kinetic this year. That was a change, although I didn't even go to downtown EDC this year. I don't know why. I just like, I think honestly at my first EDC, which October, I saw way more of EDC than I saw this year. I think because last year I was so like dedicated to seeing absolutely everything, and honestly, go me. But this year I was just kind of like, I go where the spirit moves me, whatever. So yeah, I didn't see downtown this year, but mostly like the layout was the same. It's a lot of walking, but there's so many cool things to see during your walk from stage to stage. Like Insomniac makes it so immersive and colorful and fun. So many pretty things to look at, you know what I'm saying? Only cons this year for me were Neon Garden was not the mega structure anymore. They gave it to Quantum Valley, which personally in my brain, I'm like, techno needs to have mega structure. Trance is the one that needs to have pretty open air, you know what I mean? I don't know, just me, I don't know. And also the sound was like super fucked up because of the wind on some nights, which there's nothing they can do about that. It's weather, it's Mother Nature, but it did like suck at times. I know like Friday the fireworks got canceled. It was so funny. We like moved back to a spot at Stereo Bloom so that we would be able to see them while still watching and listening to the set we were at. And it was 1:30 and we're all just looking up at the sky like, and they just never started. And finally we were like, okay, they're definitely not happening because of the wind, but it's okay. I know the third night was also really bad. Like we went to Excision at Circuit Grounds and it was like, when you see Excision, you need like full like immersive like visuals, pyro, like all fireworks, like loud ass music, and the sound was so quiet because they had to adjust all of it because of the wind that I could literally just hear every other stage. The sound bleed was pretty bad this year, depending on where you were in the crowd. So yeah, during Excision, all I could hear was like 3 different stages around me, and like Ronald left after 20 minutes. He was like, I can't, like all I can hear is people talking around me, like this is not fun. So that was a con this year, but again, it's like out of Insomniac's control. Like if the wind is bad, they have to lower like the speaker towers, whatever. But it did suck. It did suck. The sound bleed was pretty bad. And there were a lot of sets where I was like, turn the music up, like just turn it up, bitch. But they couldn't. It's okay. It happens. It's weather. There's nothing you can do. And can we just talk about the new bass pod for a second? Because Wasteland got a makeover. When I walked into the Speedway, I was like, new Wasteland. But the new bass pod, I mean, it was giving. It was giving what she needed to give. Like, it was stunning. You can tell they put so much more of the budget into bass pod this year, and honestly, thank God. It was beautiful. The DJs were like up on like an elevated little cage thing. Oh my God, it was glorious. That was definitely my favorite stage this year. And I am a Circuit Grounds stan, and I have to say, this year, it was bass pod. Circuit Grounds to me, I don't know if anyone agrees, but it was a little bit less immersive this year. I don't know how to describe it. I think because they got rid of like some of the LED screens on the side, so it didn't feel as like Circuit Grounds level immersive as it was in October. I don't know. Bass pod was definitely my favorite this year. Drop your favorite stage down below. Next category, lineup. 10 out of 10. EDC, I will always plan to attend, buy a ticket, whatever, before I ever see any lineup, because you know that they will deliver. So much genre diversity. The amount of D&B this year, like so many of my favorite D&B artists were there. It was so good to finally see all of them in one weekend, because a lot of times in the States, like you have to chase these artists down because they don't play. So I got to see like Sub Focus and Wilkinson, their Portal set, which people keep asking me about my favorite set of the weekend. It was hands down Sub Focus and Wilkinson. Them, Friction Back to Back K9, the Delta Heavy B3B, like so much good D&B, and I was so happy, and those were hands down my favorite sets of the entire weekend, because the vibes in the crowd were also A1, because people don't just like go to drum and bass sets. Like it's a very niche genre, and like if you don't like it, you're probably not gonna go. So it was just like so many people who were like so into the genre and like knew all the songs. It was so much fun. So much fun. Definitely watch the vlogs to see it. Next category is, was VIP worth it? Because I did have VIP for this weekend. And I have to say, for EDC, the VIP amenities are 10,000% worth the cost of the ticket. Because I think like a GA ticket is what, like $450, and then VIP is, I think it starts at like 700-ish, I want to say. By far so worth the money. The only thing is, and I experienced this, if your whole group doesn't have VIP, then it almost isn't worth it, because you're gonna want to use things that they can't have access to, and it's just like I didn't use the VIP viewing platforms all weekend. Not once. Didn't step foot on any of them, which people are probably gonna kill me. They're like, you had a VIP wristband and you didn't use them. I just didn't want to. Like I love the GA crowd. Anyone who is a real festival goer knows the GA crowd is where it's at. Like it's just the chaos. I like to be in with that. So I didn't use the VIP sections at EDC all weekend. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. It's like, oh my God, I didn't get to use VIP because the group was in GA. Like, no, I wanted to be in GA. Like, festivals I have VIP for, I still go GA. Lost Lands, I had VIP all weekend. Always was in the GA crowd. Project Glow, I had VIP. Always was in the GA crowd. Like, I just prefer it. It's more fun. Unless you like really need a break and you're like and the crowd is way too packed, then I will use VIP. But I used GA all weekend. The only thing I really used VIP for was the bathrooms. That alone would get me to buy a VIP pass to any festival. I'm just at the point where I've been raving since I was like, what, 17, 18? I'm going on 24. So I feel that I have paid my dues in the form of using porta potties. I feel I don't need to do that anymore, and I will literally buy VIP so that I don't have to do that any longer. I'm just like done with that. I'm done with that phase in my life. Porta potty era is just coming to a close, you know? She's been coming to a close. I just don't want to do that anymore. And then of course there's all the regular like Insomniac VIP perks. Like you have the concierge, you have your own bars, you have your own food, beauty bars. Also, like, even though my friends didn't have VIP, it was kind of nice because my friends always get very mad at me for this. I have the bladder of a walnut, okay? I literally have to pee like every 2 milliseconds at a festival. It's my worst trait about myself. So it's always a pain in the ass when we'll be like walking through with my group and I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to stop and pee. And then you have like the swarm of fucking people at the porta potties and it takes like 10 million years to go to the bathroom. Like, no, like we could just walk by. I would run into VIP, go use the bathroom, be back out in like 5 minutes. Just like that. Perfect. 10 out of 10. Doesn't bother my friends in my group as much that I have to pee and it's like a 20-minute journey. Like, no, so easy. Definitely want to do VIP next year. Definitely going to take advantage of way more of the perks that I didn't use this year. For example, I didn't know that you can get your hair braided for free if you have a VIP pass, like the full-on festival braids. I've never gotten them done before. It can cost like $200. And you're telling me I can get it for free with a VIP pass? So I will be doing that next year because then you don't have to do your hair for like 3 days. What a concept. Anyway, that's my spiel on VIP. I honestly think it comes down to how many years you've been raving, because like when I first started I was like, oh, GA is the best, I'm never gonna use VIP. And now that I'm like going on 24, I've been doing this for many years, I'm at the point where I'm like, I just want to use a real bathroom, to be honest with you. Like, I don't want to wait 30 minutes in a bar line. I want to be able to wash my hands. I want to be able to get into the festival fast. You have your own express entry. And you know what? That's just my preference now. I always will rock it in the GA crowd, I really will, but I like the perks of VIP and I do think it's worth it for EDC. Last question I always cover is, would I go back? In case it wasn't painfully obvious, yes, I will be going back to EDC. I fear it's going to be an every year festival for me because, not just because it's amazing, obviously, and I love it to pieces, but it's also just very, and to any of my other people out there who love multiple genres, it's so much more economically efficient, as I say, because I see so many of my favorite artists from so many different genres all in one weekend. One pass, one experience, one time frame, rather than me like having to go to like I'll still probably go to Lost Lands every year because I love it, but going to like Lost Lands and Dream State and like a house music event and like smaller all genre festivals to catch everyone else who's not in those categories, you know what I mean? Like EDC just has everyone, and I just feel like I would rather do in the spring like just EDC and maybe like one smaller, like Project Glow I loved this year. I would probably want to do like a smaller event like that and EDC and have that like be it for that little part of the year. It just makes more sense financially. Like it's a lot of money to go to EDC obviously, but like just comparing it to like this year I went back to Ultra for the first time in 3 years, as many of us did, and like riding off that, going to EDC, like the two, it's EDC every year for me. Like it tops anything I've ever been to, and the production is insane. I love camping. I love Camp EDC so much. I'm definitely camping again next year. It's just like, it's such a special little place. It's such a special little corner of the world, and I would love to be there every year humanly possible. Like if I can be at EDC, I will go to EDC. I think that's what it's gonna come down to for me. So I had the best time this year. I hope you guys had a great experience too. Let me know some of your thoughts on this year down below. Obviously not everything's gonna be perfect. There's gonna be hiccups, right? It's like hundreds of thousands of people packed into a little speedway for 3 days. The weather is questionable. Like things are gonna go wrong, and that's okay. I just always notice, like like I said, when I got cell phone service back and I was just reading all the negative things people were saying, I was like, my god, I feel like I went to a different EDC. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on this year's festival. I really did love it, and I will be going back. And thank you guys who came up to me and said hi throughout the weekend. It really means the world to me. And I just appreciate all the support on this channel. And so that's it for this video. If you guys have any more questions about EDC, drop them down below. Again, I will be doing a whole separate video on camp, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, so I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Peace.